Henry Ford, the very name evokes images of unimaginable wealth and opulence. With a net worth equivalent to over $200 billion today, Ford lived a lifestyle that most of us can only dream of. But what exactly did that entail? Born in 1863 to a modest farming family in Michigan, few would have predicted young Henry would one day become the richest man in America. But Henry had a knack for machines from the start. In 1903, he founded the Ford Motor Company with just $28,000. 5 years later, he unveiled the Model T and revolutionized transportation forever. His moving assembly line slashed production costs, making automobiles affordable for the masses. By 1918, half of all cars in the US were Model Ts. Ford's innovation had made him incredibly wealthy almost overnight, but he was just getting started. Henry was ready to live large, and he had the bankroll to do it. Only the finest mansions would do for an icon like Henry Ford. His crown jewel was Fair Lane, a gigantic 31,000 square foot, 55-room mega mansion in Dearborn, Michigan. Constructed in 1915, Fair Lane was Henry and Clara's home base for the rest of their lives. The estate had it all: lush gardens, winding nature trails, an indoor pool, bowling alley, and a massive garage to house Henry's growing fleet of automobiles. Building Fair Lane cost the equivalent of $50 million today. Pocket change for Henry, but sometimes you need to get away, even when you're a trillionaire. That's why Henry built the breathtaking Richmond Hill estate in Georgia. The vacation home featured stunning gardens, hiking paths, and ample space for entertaining guests. If that wasn't enough, Henry also owned retreats in Florida and Michigan for weekend getaways. After all, you can't let your primary 55-room mansion get too lonely. Henry's penchant for luxury real estate seems to run in the family. His grandson recently listed an oceanfront compound in the Hamptons for a whopping $175 million, making it the priciest home in all of New York. Must be nice to have Ford as your last name. When you're as rich as Henry Ford, you can collect some seriously incredible stuff. And Henry certainly took advantage. In 1929, he opened the Henry Ford Museum and Greenfield Village to house his ever-expanding trove of historic artifacts. Henry spared no expense filling his museum with treasures. He scooped up the Wright brothers' bicycle shop and Thomas Edison's Menlo Park lab. Entire buildings were shipped cross-country and rebuilt on site. That's the kind of stuff you can do when money is no object. In the ultimate power move, Henry even financed expeditions to South America in search of rare archaeological finds. How's that for a rich guy hobby? Henry's acquisition of the Dymaxion House was a proof to his fascination with the quirky and unconventional. Designed by visionary architect Buckminster Fuller, this circular aluminum marvel was intended to revolutionize affordable housing in post-World War II America. With its sleek, futuristic appearance and innovative design, the Dymaxion House was a striking departure from traditional dwellings. What motivated Henry to add this peculiar piece to his collection? Was it a genuine interest in Fuller's vision of sustainable living, or simply an extravagant whim of a trillionaire? Regardless of his reasons, the purchase of the UFO-shaped house for an astonishing $200,000 solidified Henry's reputation as a collector of the extraordinary. How did the Dymaxion house fit into his eclectic assortment of possessions, and what did it reveal about his unique tastes and interests? Of course, no discussion of Henry Ford would be complete without a look at his legendary car collection. The man behind the Model T certainly knew how to travel in style. Henry generally preferred to be driven in, you guessed it, Fords. But not just any old Ford would do. His favorite was a 1932 Model 18 decked out with a powerful V8 engine and custom sheepskin seat covers. Perfect for those chilly Michigan winters. Even Henry's wife Clara got in on the action. She loved the convenience of her 1914 Detroit electric car. Boasting an 80-mile range and easy push-button start, Clara's ride was a century ahead of its time. Too bad Henry didn't mass-produce that one, but for those extra special occasions, only the best of the best would suffice. Henry kept an ultra-rare 1926 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost Pal Mall Tourer just for chauffeuring VIP guests. Recent estimates put its value over $10 million. Hey, if you're going to be driven around, might as well do it in the most expensive car possible. Henry's extravagance knew no bounds, as evidenced by his custom-built yacht, the Henry Ford II. This 125-foot nautical marvel was a proof to 1920s opulence, boasting lavish amenities and an airplane engine that propelled it through the waves. With a staggering price tag of $5 million in today's currency, the yacht was a drop in the ocean for Henry, whose net worth soared to $200 billion. So, what adventures did Henry embark upon aboard this floating palace, and how did it reflect his insatiable appetite for luxury? Henry Ford didn't just have a passion for cars, he loved watches. It all started when 14-year-old Henry repaired a friend's timepiece. From then on, he was hooked. As Henry's wealth grew, so did his watch collection. His most prized possession was an ultra-rare Rolex manufactured by the company's founder, Hans Wilsdorf himself. With a price equal to over a year's wages for an average worker at the time, this was a watch only a trillionaire could afford. The Henry Ford Museum still houses several of Henry's personal pocket watches, including a few that are one of a kind. From solid gold cases to intricate engravings, these watches are as much works of art as they are timekeepers. For Henry, collecting watches wasn't just a hobby, it was a way of life. He even had a dedicated safe room built at Fairlane just to store his ever-growing horological treasures. Now that's commitment. As mind-blowing as Henry Ford's wealth was, perhaps even more remarkable was his generosity. This was a man who gave away a third of his vast fortune every year to charitable causes. During World War I, Henry opened up his estate in England to house refugees displaced by the conflict. He established schools for underprivileged children in Georgia and Michigan, and when the Great Depression struck, he personally paid for trade schools and camps to help the unemployed develop marketable job skills. Henry Ford's most lasting legacy is the Ford Foundation, which he established in 1936 with a $25,000 endowment. Over the years, this philanthropic powerhouse has distributed more than $16 billion to various causes and currently manages an impressive $16 billion endowment. The foundation's impact on society is immeasurable, making it Henry's most significant contribution to the betterment of humanity. Upon his death in 1947, Henry bequeathed much of his remaining fortune to the Ford Foundation, ensuring his legacy of giving would live on. While Henry certainly enjoyed the fruits of his labor during his lifetime, it's heartening to know that he used his wealth to make the world a better place. And there you have it, a tour through the lavish lifestyle of the one and only Henry Ford. The mansions, the cars, the yachts, the artifacts, the watches, the generosity. It's almost too much to comprehend. Henry Ford wasn't just a trillionaire industrialist. He was a larger-than-life figure who pushed the boundaries of what was possible, whether in business or in pleasure. His extreme wealth may seem unattainable to most of us, but his story is a proof to the power of innovation, hard work, and enjoying the ride. So I'll leave you with this. If you could live like Henry Ford for just one day, what would you do? What outrageous luxury would you indulge in? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this peek into the world of the rich and famous, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories. Thanks for watching.